someone just being sound about it and actually like being into it it's like priceless, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? So it's just like mad grateful for him just for backing it that hard. Do you know what I mean? 'Cause it's like that you don't get that chance unless you pay for it usually. Do you know what I mean? And when you do pay for it, it's like people can see straight through it. You know, it's like it's not
as authentic as you feel.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
people are just like, oh yeah, check this band out. Do you know what I mean? And it's like there's no like, honestly, I fucking love this band, like they're my new favorite band or whatever. Do you know what I mean? However he's bigging it up, it's like it's genuine and it's cool to see it.
Headbangers. Welcome back to the Headbangers podcast, where your hosts Nathan and Brad. Here today, we're joined by Josh from Malevolence. How are you doing, man? Start off with.
I'm very good. Yeah, thank you very much for having me. I'm excited to have a chat. It's cool. Nice to meet you both.
Yeah, ready for it
to get you on. To be fair, I've been a massive fan of Malevolence for quite a while now.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, you're Nathan's favourite band, so I told him don't fangirl out too hard. Like,
mate, that's cool,
I got into you guys like sort of like the back end of like 2017. My mate Jordan, who's also from Sheffield, he was like, I started a band with him. And he was like, oh, listen to Malev, and from there it was like, yeah, this is it. I'm gonna start.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good thing, you know what I mean? As long as you like it and you keep coming back, you know what I mean? Still enjoying the new stuff and that. It's fine.
Yeah, it's been like, so it's just sick to get you on, to be honest. Like, be able to talk about obviously like Malevolence and everything like that. So yeah, sort of kick it off. What's out of all the tours that Malev have done, what's your favorite tour story that you can sort of think of?
We like the funny ones.
Yeah, well, that's it. Tough one straight away there. To be honest, there's a lot of stories, some of which probably shouldn't mention, I suppose. But I mean, it's kind of strange. Like, it's usually just coming across like weird people. You know what I mean? That like generally, you know, like you get like strange people in England and stuff like that. You know, so it's like everyone knows the types. But then when you go to other countries, those kind of weird people, they're like, do you know what I mean? It's like they've got their own brand of like weird people. So
I know what you mean.
You just sort of cross paths with like strange, like people that you wouldn't meet in other places, you know what I mean? So I guess generally things like that, or just like partying. Do you know what I mean? People just doing stupid stuff when you're partying and things like that. It's like general highlights, really, or like at festivals when you sort of there's loads of bands playing that are your friends. Do you know what I mean? And you don't see them for months at a time or like years at a time sometimes, well, especially these days. Do you know what I mean? But you bump into them and everyone just like goes a little bit too wild. Do you know what I mean? And people just end up doing something stupid. Do you know what I mean? We kind of basically just stole this buggy once when we were at this Summer Breeze Festival in Germany. And they have their like sort of like golf cart sort of things. Do you know what I mean? Just like
I know what you mean.
Festival for like the people who were there. Do you know what I mean? And it was Con's birthday, so we were like, obviously like getting a bit loose. And that, do you know what I mean? Like, so yeah, at a massive festival with loads of his friends. So it was one of those days. You know what I mean? Everyone was going pretty mad. Like we were like playing fairly early, so our set was like over and done with, and then you could just watch like. You know, I think like Muni Waste were playing and shit like that. So Crowbar and, you know what I mean? Like Jaster was playing and he had loads of guests and shit. So we were like, sick, wicked day. Do you know what I mean? And then, but obviously, we heard like Municipal Waste like playing in the background. I can't remember what we were doing. We were just like in one of the fields, like we're full of tents and like random German people, which is like funny just in itself. And we just saw the cart and we're just like, right, we're having it. It's just straight in it. Just didn't know where we were going. You know what I mean? Just tanking it around this festival, like trying to hold on to all these drinks. Do you know what I mean? Like spilling them everywhere. And the guy came out and he was like, stop! What on earth are you doing? Like, you can't be driving this, because I don't think he like realized we were playing or anything until like we told him. Do you know what I mean? Because he was like, how the fuck you got this? Like, no idea. Like. And he was like, let me drive. Like, you can't be driving it because, like, obviously you're hammered. And you don't work for the festival. So he sort of shoved us to the side. And then he was like, what are you doing then? Like, we were like, oh, we're playing a band. Like, cool. This is the first time we've played at the festival or whatever. It was really good. Like, and he was like, oh, yeah, I know who you are. Like, I booked all the bands at the festival. And we were like, oh, right. Yeah, like, yeah, okay, sweet. Like, he was like, yeah, how did you get this? And we were just like, well, it was sort of just on the side.
There.
It was like there for the taking. So, and he was like, where do you want to go? I was like, municipal waste. So he just took us. But that was a pretty funny one, I guess, just off the top of my head. So I can't hardly remember like some of them.
It's like you're talking to the booking. Yeah. Talk to the booking guy and you're all just messing about like tits on a fucking buggy.
Well, that's it. It was like, oh, who's this guy? He probably just works at like one of the like volunteers or something at the festival. And he's like, oh no, like I book all the bands. He was like, I know exactly who you are. We're like, oh right, shit.
Yeah, like,
well, we're not doing anything wrong, you know what I mean? Like, can we like please book us again? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. you got to think like if he's been in that game for quite a while, he's probably seen like weird as shit. Like, I mean, it's like I've seen like, yeah, he knows what goes on. You know what I mean? So
I reckon so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So by extension of that, then obviously like you played Bloodstock, you played Download, you played like multiple places in Europe. So take me back to the early days. Like, what were those crazy times like? Have you got any like stories you can pull from that?
Well, a lot of the stories are from those sort of days, really, just because like it's different now, like, because like we've got our own van or we're on a bus or something like that, or we fly, so you fly there and then come back. But so there's not really much time to like get yourself in trouble. Do you know what I mean? And like these days we like try and take it a lot more seriously as well. Do you know what I mean? So we're not like, if we're playing like multiple shows and stuff like that, we're not like as mad as we used to be. Do you know what I mean? We're trying to take it seriously. People actually want to see us and like we want to put on a good show. Do you know what I mean? These days, and we always did, but when you're like 16, 17, you don't care. Do you know what I mean? It's like you get a gig, like you're like, yeah, we're tight, doesn't matter. I can have like 20 beers before I play, doesn't matter. It's like now I can't. Do you know what I mean? But back in the day, yeah, it was obviously just having a little car, you know what I mean, just to like cram all the gear in. You turn up at some like random pub somewhere, do you know what I mean? And there's like, you don't really know where you're going. You got to ask like people on the street, just look for like the other moshes, do you know what I mean? Like, right, it must be around here somewhere, do you know what I mean? Like, and then then just like crash at someone's house, like someone from the gig or whatever, just sort of say it down the mic, like when you're on the stage, you know what I mean? It's like, right, anyone like having a party afterwards, or like, is there any way we can like crash because we don't want to drive home? And then you just end up in someone's having like a fucking like student house party or something like that. Do you know what I mean? And there's like, again, just like random weird people that you just like, you would never meet. And they're just like, oh yeah, like, what do you do then? Like, why are you here? Like, you don't sound like you're from around here and that. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh God, here we go. And then you just get stuck with him, don't you? Do you know what I mean?
You ever wish like you could just like put on a GoPro and just like go on back on all your nights out and just see all the weird conversations you've had with people? Like,
yeah. I know. Kind of best to forget him, to be honest. I mean,
oh yeah. I feel like everyone, like especially in the UK, has had that moment where they've walked into like some student halls, open the door, it's like a house party, and they've all just been sat on the sofa. You're like, it's just full of weird people, and you're there like, how can I escape this situation?
Around like, who's this? Do you know what I mean? Like,
and you're like, where do I sit? And then as soon as you sit down, you're like, I picked the seat next to the weirdest guy here somehow.
Yeah, that's why it was empty. You know what I mean? Like,
honestly, I feel like everyone's got like sort of that experience with like, just get me out of here. I've had like 100.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's it. Or like, yeah, and you're trying to go to sleep or something because you've got like, well, you've got to drive the next day, do you know what I mean, to the next show or whatever, and you don't want to be totally fucked. So, trying to go to sleep in like someone's floor, and then there's just like people opening the door, like, have you seen me back here? You know what I mean? Like spilling beers everywhere. Like, what are you like doing in here? Oh, sorry. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, oh man, like, I might just go and sleep in car and freeze my tits off instead. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I want to kind of like delve into the obviously your guys' merch game. I gotta say, usually I literally like the kings of merch. Whether it's advent calendars, rugs. You know what I mean? Like you've got it all. What's like the main key to having such a great merch game? Do you think? Like, what's like the main sort of goal?
I think it's just like make stuff that you think people would like. Do you know what I mean? I guess like we're all sort of like into clothes and that a bit. Do you know what I mean? Like, so Wilkie makes all the designs and stuff. So, and he's quite into his like graphics and things like that. So it just obviously, well, if you've got an album, put that on a t-shirt. It's, people want it. Do you know what I mean? So things like that. If otherwise, it's like, how can you be a bit more creative and think outside the box about what what do you want your band to represent? Like, who is it? Like, what do you want people to think when they see your band t-shirt? Do you want it to just be like, oh, miscellaneous band t-shirt, or do you want it to be like, oh, that's like cool, what is it? Oh, what's that thing that it says on it? Oh, what is it? Oh, it's a metal band, sweet. Oh, that's cool. It doesn't look like a metal band. Do you know what I mean? Or something like that. Just like having like a embroidered patch or something, rather than just printed like on the pocket, or I don't know, things like that. Or like with the rugs, it's just like a novelty item in it, and it's like not loads of people are going to buy them, but if you do like a limited run, people who the diehards are going to want them, and they're sick. Do you know what I mean? It's just like a cool thing to have in it, and then people take pictures of it, put it online. That sort of like spreads it a bit more. And like with a thing like an advent calendar, it's just like funny, innit? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, what do you get at Christmas? Like advent calendars, like, well, let's make one.
Genius, man.
Well, like we did the chocolate bars the year before. Do you know what I mean? Just a full chocolate bar. So it's just, I don't know. It's just like just something to get people talking, innit? And then it's like depending on whether you like sort of more metal style merch or you like sort of like more streetwear esque merch. You know what I mean? It's like you want to have something for all your fans. Like Malevolence is quite a mixed crowd of general metal fans. Do you know what I mean? So you got your hardcore kids or whatever who like caps and and like what massive t-shirts with like not much on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a huge fucking like the album artwork on it or whatever. Whereas it's like you go Bloodstock, everyone there wants like a t-shirt with the logo across, and then like on the back it's got the album artwork. You know what I mean? Because it's just like the crowd that's there, So trying to have something that caters to a lot of or wide range of people, especially when I feel like the music, it crosses over a lot of genres. Under the umbrella of metal, that it sort of has to be the same with like the image and the clothes and stuff that other brand that you're selling, I guess,
Yeah, I think it's important that you see yourself as a brand and like, the sort of fashionable aspect of the merch. Like you go for like the minimalistic design, which I think is much more like desirable now than like, I'm not a fan of the big sort of artwork spread across the t-shirt like I once was, but like as I've grown older, I kind of prefer something a bit more simplistic and like it just seems more fashionable. So it's great that you guys have not only done that, but you've also catered towards people that do like the big sort of designs. I think what I'm trying to say is like I feel like you guys put a lot more thought into that aspect than like other bands might.
Yeah, well, it's now that like we all sort of like see it as a job. Do you know what I mean? So it's like that is our job to do. Be a metal band or be a band, whatever you want to call it. Do you know what I mean? So nowadays it's sort of like everyone sort of has their own department. Do you know what I mean? So like I write all the music or whatever, do you know what I mean? All the riffs and stuff, and then I just sit and demo stuff and play guitar and like teach guitar. My whole life is just playing guitar basically. Do you know what I mean? So like Wilkie's the guy who does the merch, and he's very into his graphics. He does merch for other people and like different companies and stuff like that. So he's constantly like looking at different things and being like, oh, that's cool, or like these are doing this thing, or like this person or this brand's doing that, and it's easier to focus on it when you delegate the sort of the productivity of stuff. Do you know what I mean? So if you delegate jobs to people, like I could probably like make a decent design, but it'd take me ages. Do you know what I mean? And then I'd be like, I don't know if it's that good. Do you know what I mean? Whereas like everyone sort of just trusts Wilkie that it's going to be sick, you know? So
yeah.
why not?
Right. I feel like it's so important to do that and like play to everyone's strengths rather than try to all go in together and have too many cooks in the kitchen and never really like get through it. Because like I've tried it with my own band in the past, and when we've all done it like together, it's almost like being like, "Hey, well, this is my thing. Can you fuck off for 5 minutes? I'll get it. Like I'll get it done." Like,
yeah, that's it, innit? And that, yeah, because I think it used to be like that with us as well, you know, because you start a band and the whole thing is the music, innit? Do you know what I mean? That's like what your band is. Everyone plays an instrument and they want to play their songs, you know? So like, it's only when it starts becoming a thing and it's like, actually, I can't really make that much money or like really any money for a long time off the music. So what else is it that like is going to help us achieve what we want to achieve? And it's like t-shirts, you know, to start with. So you make a t-shirt and then it's like, oh, it sold all right. Like that was cool, you know, like, or you might be sat on them for ages and it's like, oh, so what is it about the t-shirt that maybe people didn't like, or the design that people didn't like, or, you know, is it, how do we change it? And, you know, so it's, if everyone's involved, there's too many, like you said, too many cooks, you know what I mean? It's like, just leave it to someone who is interested in that side of it and has a good eye for it, you know, who can pull it off. Definitely, and then it's, you know, it's like trying to write a song and everyone's like, oh, let's have a bit like this. And I'm like, yeah, cool, we can have a bit like that. But like, it's easy to say that, but yeah, actually trying to make a part is completely different. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, if I do it, then the song will flow nicely because I sit and like work on it for ages. You know what I mean? Whereas if everyone sort of is there every step of the way, it's like you sit for ages trying different ideas for this one part, when it's more productive just to put something down and then listen back to it the next day and think, what does it, you know, does that work? Does it sound good or does it not, you know? Or maybe I'll get one of the boys to come and have a listen. What do you think? And they're like, oh yeah, it's cool. And if it's cool, then it's fine. You know what I mean? If it's not, then, or like, oh, maybe we could do this instead. So you try it, you know? So little things like that. It's like the bits of input are more, it's like way more productive doing it that way than it is just everyone trying to do every little bit of it all the time, you know?
Oh yeah,
that's
I can definitely see it from like a writing's perspective, because like I find like if you all do it together, if you go to demo it, that like you said, there'll be someone, I want a bit like that, and then another person, but oh, I want a bit like that, well, I want a bit like that, and like by the end of it, you've just got like this mess of a demo that doesn't really fit together, and you're like, how the fuck are we gonna piece this together? Like,
and that's it, isn't it? Like people can be precious about like their ideas sometimes. Do you know what I mean? It's me included. Do you know what I mean? But it's just like trying to write a song. It's like what's the best thing for the song? Do you know what I mean? Not like I really want my idea to be in it. Do you know what I mean? We can use it again in just something else when it fits better. You know, stuff like that. Or like maybe I'll just suck it up and just not have that part that I really want to put in because it just don't work. You know,
it's like compromising on it.
Yeah, just for the greater good, really. You know,
absolutely.
It took me ages to learn that too, because I just used to write songs that were like riff after riff after riff after riff after riff. Do you know what I mean? And it'd just be like no repeats of anything, and I'd just try and make it like as hard as I possibly could to play, which was fine. But nowadays, I don't really want to do that because it takes. You know what I mean? They're not like very good songs. It's like good music, like and riffs. Do you know what I mean? And like, you know, put a fucking mad blast beat behind it, sick. Do you know what I mean? But in terms of like the general listener, most people don't play music, you know, or play an instrument. So they want to hear a song that's like got a chorus or something, you know, for example, so they can sing it every time it comes round and they remember it. But if you've just got part after part after part, that never happens. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's important to make songs as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like something I've pulled up on the podcast before. It's like it's one of the reasons why I, as a listener, can never really gravitate to like tech death. I appreciate it as a genre, but sometimes I find it like you listen to it and you go, you kind of forgot to put a song in there, and like I mean, it is important to sort of still have that structure of like this is a beginning, middle, and end. Like it is a form of storytelling in a way, isn't it? So
yeah, I definitely agree with that, 100%. Yeah,
that's it, right? So obviously, like Malevolence has had such an impact now, like going back, just across all your career. Like I think Malevolence now is like just as high as it's ever been. But as well, you appeal to like everyone in the metal crowd, but everyone in the hardcore crowd. Like you're like the golden child that everyone's like, yeah, we love Malevolence. Like, did you ever think that the impacts that you'd have that you do now, like when you first started?
I don't know. It's interesting. Like nowadays, you can sort of see it, like what you mean. You know what I mean? Like I think other bands like do take influence, or do you know what I mean? Sort of like we maybe look up to us as a band and try and because we did a lot of basically everything by ourselves the whole time, and it's sort of now like paying off. But it's hard, do you know what I mean? And but it's not like you can't do it. And I think that's a good thing for smaller bands, or if you're going to start a band or whatever, just to sort of think like, oh, I can actually do it. You don't need like you need a bit of backing, but as long as you think you're good, do you know what I mean? Like we always just thought we were good. Do you know what I mean? Regardless if anyone told us we were or not, we were just like, we think it's sick. And then like we just keep playing gigs, more and more people will turn up, So I guess, I don't know, seems weird to say, but like I don't want to come across like big-headed, but I guess the influence is sort of recognizable now. Whereas when you were growing up, it's just like, I just always wanted to be like Lamb of God. Do you know what I mean? Or something like that. It's just like, well, I watched all those videos and I've got like the DVDs and stuff from when I was a kid. I'm just like, well, that's all I want to do. So like, if I make tunes that are like that I rate like, and I think are going to be good, like in a live setting, as well as on a record, then hopefully we'll just do it. Do you know what I mean? And you just keep playing, and it's always been like a priority for everyone in the band to just be in the band. Do you know what I mean? It's like you have all you sort of like your best, you meet new people, you meet like, new contacts as you keep going and stuff. So it's cool to, I've been in the band since I was 14. So that's like 13 years nearly. Do you know what I mean?
Wow.
So
yeah,
it's like with that, I don't know, it's obviously a very slow progression in it. You know what I mean? But it's not it's not a bad thing. It's just, that's just what it takes, especially when you play like heavy music. It's not everyone's cup of tea, is it?
Oh, yeah.
So, like, I mean,
it's like, I wish I was a Malevolence.
It's very rare for like heavy music to get such massive traction that it becomes like viral, or it hits headline charts. Like, but it's just like, I feel like a lot of bands look up to you guys as well because of the independent thing as well, where it's like these guys have grinded and grinded and grinded, and they are seeing results now. Yeah, it is like a lot of people would pack it in after like a year of being like, I don't know, I haven't got to where I want to be. But you guys are like, nah, let's just stick to it. This is fun. We'll keep doing it. I think like a lot of bands should sort of take a similar attitude to it, like not get butter if they don't get to where they want in a couple of years. Just go and go and go.
Yeah, well, I always said like I was like, if the band ended tomorrow, I'd obviously be gutted. But like, I've had like the sickest time ever. Just like, do you know what I mean? Sleeping on people's floors, just doing stupid shit in service stations. Do you know what I mean? It's like just standing in like every car park in like the whole of Europe. Do you know what I mean? Just having a beer. Do you know what I mean? That's like, it just creates like weird memories. And it's like, I've seen loads of places. I've played absolutely dead shows, and I've played rammed shows. Do you know what I mean? So it's like the spectrum, it's like a roller coaster of emotions and just like feelings throughout the years. Do you know what I mean? And as you grow as a band, like we always just thought like, we'll just keep doing it because like people are turning up, like, and people are moshing, like people are singing along, like we seem to sell like a decent amount of merch, even like back in the day. So we're just like, well, just keep doing it. Do you know what I mean? And then someone's like, oh, I'll give you like, you know, obviously you play shows for free and stuff at first, and then someone's like, I'll give you 30 quid. Do you know what I mean? And then it's like 50 quid, and then it's 75 quid, and then someone can get you £100 a gig, and you're like, fucking sick. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, wicked, like we can actually like do something here. And then it just keeps growing like that. And then, you know, eventually it becomes more of like the business sort of side of it, I guess, you know, where it's like you've got a constant merch flow that needs topping up, and you need to like think about new stuff that's coming out, and or you've got like to book studio time for your demos, and do you know what I mean? And well, not for your demos, but like to record the real versions of your demos, and and then it's like trying to sort out tours while you're doing that, you know, what's happening with the release, like when we need to get in the queue to get the vinyl printed, where's the artwork, do you know what I mean? It's like there's a million things, like, oh, we need 3 singles out for the record or whatever, so we need a video for each one of them. Who's going to film it? Do you know what I mean? Where are we going to film it? What's the concept? What's the song about? Do you know what I mean? It's just like all that stuff just builds and builds and builds and builds until you can't not do it. Do you know what I mean? It's like you have to be able to do it like a job, because there's not enough time to sustain it if you've got a job, basically. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It is a full-time job. I feel like that's why a lot of people end up sort of starting bands and then sort of quitting after a while, because I feel like people underestimate like the amount of work that actually goes into it. They'll go, yeah, you're just gonna play some gigs and then all that stuff. It's like, oh, the fun stuff, but they don't focus on like what's actually in the back end of it, where it's like, shit, I actually have to do a lot of it shit here, like.
Exactly, that's it. And like, playing gigs, obviously the best bit about it, and it always has been and always will be. But it's one of them, innit? It's like if you actually want to do it, it's like you obviously when you're growing up and stuff, it's like, I don't know if I was like always like watching, I still am, like watching like music documentaries and stuff, you know what I mean? Just about if anyone, even if I don't particularly like them, I'll just watch it, see what the like story is. And it's like, oh, they just cut out all the bits every time. It's just like, he started playing in these tiny little pubs, and then all of a sudden he sold like 5 million albums, and you're just like, all right, okay, it doesn't work like that. Like, maybe it did in like the 80s or something, do you know what I mean, when people just got picked up or whatever, but no one does that now. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's planned, it's like orchestrated, do you know what I mean, like behind the scenes and stuff, and it's like, if you don't get that break, a lot of people like get put off, but like it's not like we really ever got a break. Like we got signed for the first record, and that was like the first sort of like step that we got to make. Do you know what I mean? So we're like, oh, buzzing, like someone actually is down to like push it, which was sick. But obviously we were tiny, so they didn't sell as many as the label had want. So we got dropped, do you know what I mean? So like, oh, buzzing, and then you're not so buzzing, but you're like, I'm not going to stop doing it because all the shows we're playing is sick. Do you know what I mean? It's like we've got tours, so we can do the tours, we can still get his name out, and hopefully by the time the second one comes out, we'll be a bit bigger. And then just the same thing, and you are, you know what I mean? If your name's about, and you sort of like have content and, you know, cool merch or whatever, and good songs, then it's like, there's only really one way it can go if you're going to push it and put the time into it. But it is just take a lot of effort, and like, I think the fact that we, as I said, like I've been in it since I was 14, so because we started so young, it meant that like we didn't have any other responsibilities.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So as soon as Charlie was like old enough to get a car at 17, he did. Do you know what I mean? Well, it was his mum's car, obviously, but like, but like we just drive that anywhere. Do you know what I mean? And it meant that we could go and play a gig in Doncaster. Do you know what I mean? Or like Rotherham, instead of just like the 3 rock pubs in Sheffield. Do you know what I mean? Or whatever.
Yeah.
And then it was like, you know, you'd play in Donny with a band who's from Leeds, and they're like, oh, you were good, like, did you want to play in Leeds? And you're like, yeah, sweet, let's do that. And you're like, buzzing, Leeds, sick. Do you know what I mean? Or like Manchester, wicked. Do you know what I mean? It's realistically, it's like an hour away. Do you know what I mean? But it just snowballs, doesn't it? And then you keep doing it, and then you get a few fans in Leeds or Manchester, and then you go, someone says, do you want to play in London? And you're like, fucking hell, capital city. Do you know what I mean? Let's go.
Let's do it.
And then someone's like, oh yeah, I'll buy you CD. Or like, I thought you were sick, like I'll buy you a shirt. And then he just keeps going, doesn't it? I guess. Well, hopefully. But that's it. You've
Life
got,
lesson. Malevolence for life, not just for Christmas.
That's it, exactly. Yeah, man. Every time. But yeah, it's tough. It's a tough game, but it's you're either in it or you're not, aren't you? Do you know what I mean? What else are you gonna do?
Right, man.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's like you mentioned, obviously, you've been in the band since you was like 14. Are there any songs that you wrote when you were 14 or any riffs or anything like that still make it into Malevolence like today, right? Where you're like, kind of like, I still think that one's a good one. Yeah, I mean, it's like, I really want that one in there.
Like I teach, when I teach guitar, like, you know, this is like, Malevolence was like way more like, I guess, well, when I first joined, it was sort of like way more like out the gates, sort of like, you know, like, sort of like Scandinavian, sort of like melodeath sort of vibe. Do you know what I mean? Like the Absence and stuff like that. And then it sort of changed a little bit. We sort of got into like Misery Signals, and then, you know, like more melodic, sort of like, I guess, metalcore, but like the hardcore side of it. Yeah, whatever. And then so it started developing, like, and then you start listening to like At the Driving, or, you know, things like that. They're a bit more like out of the way of like just like Viking metal. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then like at the same time, like Lamb of God, Hatebreed, both being, and Chimera, to be fair, those three bands are like basically everyone has always loved, and Malevolence has like been heavily influenced by those three bands forever. Like, so there's always been parts like that. But then it's sometimes there's riffs, like me and Charlie still play like all the old ones, like when we're jamming. Do you know what I mean? We just go in the practice room and just like what we're playing, it's just like, you know, one of the old ones, just like gaining ground. All right, sweet, let's go. Can you remember it? And it's like me and him, like, because we just wrote them like together. It's still in there, you know what I mean? It's just like, oh, sweet. Like we were actually thinking about just recording them all ourselves, like again, but like with like better quality. Because loads of them don't, like, they never got recorded. They don't exist. They're just like in his head. Do you know what I mean? So we're just putting them online, just like if you want to listen to like the development, like through the years, do you know what I mean? We'll put them in like chronological order and just for people to listen to, really, like, do you know what I mean? If they want to, and then you can hear the riffs and stuff. So, but we definitely do like, or have used old riffs like multiple times, because they were never recorded, so no one's ever gonna know. Do you know what I mean? And if it fits, it fits. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I don't want to. Why would I get a better, like, use another idea if that one fits very well? Like,
oh yeah, definitely.
Exactly.
Like, it's like I have like hundreds of recordings from practices of just like riffs that Jordan had written where I'm there like, that's really good, I'm gonna save that for later. And like whenever we're writing, just me and him, I go, do you remember this riff from like 2018? It's like just click on that. Yeah, it's just good to have. Like, if you've got it, you might as well use it.
Of course, dude. Of course, every time. Like, that's the worst thing about it. Like, me and Charlie just used to write, like, the first two albums, there's no demo. There was never a demo of any of those songs. They were just, me and Charlie just wrote them in the practice room, and they were just in our heads. So we went straight from our heads to the desk and then to the album. So like, we'd never listened to them before we recorded them. Do you know what I mean? So, and that was the album. So whereas like nowadays, obviously, it was like lockdown and stuff like that. So I just fucking bought myself a little interface and stuff, and I, do you know what I mean, got a version of Logic or whatever, and I was just like, right, this is it. Do you know what I mean? I'm just gonna learn how to like do something decent, and now it's way better because now I can just like save all my riffs. I don't forget them. Do you know what I mean? Or like, oh, like, I can just drag that one in now. Do you know what I mean? Or like, cut all the bits up, like, oh, it sounds a bit shit, or it's a bit long, or it's too short, or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Or this bit needs like some emphasis, so I can actually change it. So like having a little setup's like definitely changed the way that we write, and just the way that the band sounds, I think. Because
absolutely,
if everything's up in your head, it's like you can't really manipulate it that well. because it's kind of hard to get on everyone's level. Whereas if you can just play it and listen to it and be like, this is what I'm thinking, people are, oh yeah, sick. Do you know what I mean?
Let the riffs speak for themselves, you know.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
like,
do you think like any of your riffs or songs are slept on? Like, what do you think out of all the riffs that you've produced, all the songs? Like, do you think any of them are like generally slept on that you feel like people should take more note of?
I don't know, to be honest. I think I sort of see it differently, like, because I like each riff that I write has sort of got like it's like a time and a place, do you know what I mean? Like, or like a certain vibe, and it's like might not come across in the same way to a listener, or everyone's got their own opinion about stuff, haven't they? Like, that riff sounds like this, and you're like, what does it? Like, to me it sounded like something completely different, or that was what I was going for, something completely different, do you know what I mean? And now it sounds like that, like what? Like, so I don't know, like, obviously there's generally like singles and stuff like that on like any album, so they're always the ones that are generally going to be pushed, and it's like you sort of just, I always know that like the more like metal ones are generally not going to be the ones that people listen to the most. Do you know what I mean? So like things like Body Count and all like Outnumbered, like off Self-Supremacy, like they're both pretty metal, and like some of the riffs are sick. Do you know what I mean? Like I rate like them, but it's like the song overall is like not as easily listened to. You know what I mean? It's like very metal and very fast and heavy. Whereas like something like Self-Supremacy, the song, it's like got a hook, like there's a riff.
Yeah,
it's like catchy, you know what I mean? So yeah, exactly. So you know that one, and everyone else knows that one as well. And there's like a few lads who like love guitar or like shred drums or something in the crowd who are like, "Well, you never play Body Count." And I'm like, "Yeah, because no one be hook." You know what I mean? Like,
it's like a box of Quality Street, isn't it? Like you just don't know which melody you're gonna get next. Is it gonna be bouncy? Exactly. Is it gonna be flashy?
Well, that's it. Yeah, I do like that as well. Like, I don't think we're not trying to be like anything in particular. It's just like if we think the songs are cool and we like the riffs and the song in general, then we're gonna play it or we're gonna release it. So like even these days with like everyone was like, "Oh, you're so heavy," and like some like beat down band or whatever, and it's like we have beat downs, but I'm not a beat down band. Do you know what I mean?
No,
it's like,
not.
And then it's like you have a song like The Other Side. Do you know what I mean? And it's like we can do both of those things, and it's like why does it matter? Do you know what I mean? You can't say like, you know what I mean? It's like if someone in the band can sing like Concan, we use it. Do you know what I mean? Like use it. It's like gives you a complete different angle, and then it means like even if people don't necessarily like the heavy stuff, they can still listen to that.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like it's like if you go on, we are a hardcore. If you think in like the sense of like we are a hardcore band, we are a metal band, we are a thrash band, we are this band. It's like you're never gonna branch out. You're just gonna be in that little box you've put yourself in your entire career in music. Like you might as well go, I like everything. Fuck it, throw everything in there.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, I don't really think anyone just listens to like one style of music, realistically. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, even if you only write metal, like, I guarantee that you've taken influence from like something else that's not metal, So like, why, I don't like, especially these days, like, there's not really much segregation between like trends and stuff anymore. You know what I mean? It's like everyone sort of like is allowed to like everything. Whereas like when we were kids, I'm sure it was the same for you too as well. Like when like wherever you grew up and stuff, you know what I mean, in like your local town or city, like there was like the skate park, and that's where like all the moshers would be. Do you know what I mean? Like, it would not like no one would chill with like a chaff. Do you know what I mean? It'd be like the complete opposite, and you could tell. Do you know what I mean?
I use a mosher.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
walking back at that.
Yeah, it's exactly. That's it. And it's just like nowadays, it's not like that. Do you know what I mean? Like everyone, there's loads of like crossover, like fashion, especially, is quite fluid. Do you know what I mean? Whereas it wasn't then.
Yeah,
like you
yeah.
could get a dad wearing like loads of chains on his jeans and shit, or like having painted fingernails. Do you know what I mean? Whereas like there's loads of fucking ripped dudes in gym now with like black nails. Do you know what I mean? And like ripped jeans, and you're like, all right, cool. So it's just like maybe you like Avenged Sevenfold, or maybe you like house music. Do you know what I mean? So it's like quite a big change in just like the way things are, I think.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because like now I've noticed people that used to like bully me in sixth form for being a mosher. I'll find them on Instagram. I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? He's wearing a Black Sabbath shirt. Oh, like, she's like gone full goth now. What the fuck is this?
Yeah,
hang on. You feel like messaging them going, hey, you did a 180, didn't you?
Yeah,
that happened with Vans as well. Like Vans, like everyone used to take the piss out of everyone for wearing Vans, and then now everybody wears Vans. Like crazy.
I used to get ripped on at school for wearing Vans, and like 2 years later, I was just like, what the fuck is this about? Do you know what I mean? But it's a good thing, do you know what I mean? Because it only means that the culture is being like more accepted, I suppose.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
it's like as well, like you've got so many like brackets of how people sort of got into like quote unquote on alternative music. Like you get some kids that it's weird now for me thinking that there's like kids that now only listen to hardcore. Like we spoke about this with like someone else we interviewed, and it's like I've met kids that are like, oh, I only listen to hardcore. Whereas like me, I had to go through the stages where it was like metal, thrash metal, death metal, and then like build my way up and then go, oh, I like hardcore. Do you know what I mean? Like I had to go through all that shit.
Of course, yeah. Well, that's it. I think like you can get into stuff now, and there's bands like Turnstile, for instance, is like
sick band, yeah.
Yeah, they're wicked, absolutely sick. Like I love them, but it's like in terms of like how hardcore it is, like true hardcore. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's not really, is it? It's like pop rock, basically. If you were gonna like, if someone who didn't listen to hardcore listened to it, they wouldn't be like, oh, it's fucking hell, that's hard. Do you know what I mean? They've got the classic Turnstile riff still.
Yeah,
and like people go absolutely off at the shows, which is sick.
Yeah.
I mean, they're rate good live, so it's wicked. But it's like that's like such an entry, like it's like sort of like an entry level for a lot of people now, especially like younger kids. You know what I mean? They're in like NME, they're on TV and shit, so they're like, oh, this is wicked. Like I proper like they relate to Turnstile. It's like, oh, what other bands are like that? And then it just gets sort of heavier. Do you know what I mean? And heavier and heavier. It's the same with like when I was growing up, it was like Linkin Park. Do you know what I mean? Like new metal, stuff like that. It was like a very hip hop influence. Do you know what I mean? But it was, you listen to that and then maybe you get into Slipknot, who was like more, it was like heavier. And then you get into like Lamb of God. Do you know what I mean? And it just goes like heavy or Trivium or something like that. And it's just, you know, and then you find what you into. But you need those like gateway bands, don't you? You know, to like.
I mean, to be fair, that happened. Like Malevolence was my gateway into hardcore because like I've never listened to hardcore up until like, you know, a few years ago. But like because you guys are such a perfect balance of like different genres and you've got like the metal aspect and the hardcore like tied down, I was like, oh, I might check out this hardcore thing that people are on about. Like I got into it from there.
Yeah, sick. Well, that's it. Like, I think because we sort of like, when we were like trying to build the band or whatever, when we were a bit younger, like there weren't really much of like a metal scene. You know, I mean, there weren't really like many local metal bands, but there were loads of hardcore bands who were like doing stuff, and there'd be gigs every weekend. So we're just like, right, well, let's play those gigs. It's basically the same. Do you know what I mean? But we were always like super metal. And then like, so like, especially when we toured as well, it was like, we go do like a hardcore tour or whatever, and we'd be like the metal band. But then we do like a metal tour, and like everyone's like, "Oh, it's this hardcore band." You're like, no, you're just like in the middle. But I think that's sort of like helped us, because like you said, it's like you can get into hardcore through Malev, which is it's sick. Do you know what I mean? It's like I like to bridge the gap, you know, and like blur the line of it. But it's basically just like we just make music that like we would like to listen to. And it's like we were saying, not everyone just listens to hardcore or just listens to metal. And I think like sometimes there's like quite a like elitist view on stuff like that, especially in like hardcore. It's like quite cliquey. or can be. Do you know what I mean? So it's like people don't want to get into it, or they're like, oh, it's fucking stupid. Like, I hate that shit. Do you know what I mean? It's like, but then everyone in the scene like goes on about like unity and like helping each other out, and like, you know, like everyone is like one, and, you know, like equality and stuff like that, which is a good thing to preach, obviously. But from an outsider's point of view, it's quite hard to get into it. Do you know what I mean? And if you're like not in the scene, even back in the day with us, it was like people wouldn't like mosh to your band because like you weren't like, or you were like too metal, or do you know what I mean, or something like that.
Yeah.
And you just
Who
like,
cares if it slaps? It slaps. That's it.
Exactly, that's it. Yeah, it's like, I don't care. Like I like everything. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
But that's again, like that's all changing now because of bands like Turnstile and stuff like that. They're just doing what they want to do, and like same as Malev, like we're just doing what we want to do, and hopefully people like it, you know. And it's cool. Like obviously, we're very grateful for the fact that we can make music that we like and have such different sides to it, like super soft or like super heavy and brutal. You know, it can have the southern riffs, or you know what I mean, and like also have beat downs and blast beats, you know, things like that, or have Con like doing his like harsh vocals, or, you know, super clean, and then also have Alex like going absolutely mad. Do you know what I mean? So the like acceptance of the fans or people on the outside is what allows you to do it. So if the social sort of like the way people think about music and culture and stuff, like if it changes so that it is more fluid, it just allows way more like creativity, and for people not to be scared of like, oh, I want to make a band, but I don't want it people to think it's this, or do you know what I mean? Or like, oh, we're just going to be a hardcore band, or what, we're just going to be a metal band. You know what I mean? Just make some riffs. Like if it sounds cool, it sounds cool. Do you know what I mean?
Too right.
Oh,
too
yeah.
right.
It's like, it's just, you might as well just throw shit at the wall and just see what sticks, to be honest. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the best method. Like,
yeah, definitely.
It's like when you watch like interviews with any musician, they never go, oh well, we only intended to be at this point in our career because we intended from the start to be this particular type of Nah, they never fucking say that. They're like, well, originally started off like this. Like,
yeah, exactly, that's it. It's just like, yeah, just made some riffs and like played some gigs and just kept doing that. Basically. Yeah, this was a similar story with most bands, I think.
Oh yeah, definitely. I kind of want to address, like, obviously in the recent album, we know that you've worked with Matt Heafy. What was that sort of like? Like, how did it sort of come about as well? Because like it's pretty crazy. Like,
yeah. Well, that's it. Like, it all like happened pretty quick, to be honest. It was like Trivium for me. Like they were like the first. They were sort of like my gateway into metalcore and stuff like that. Like I listened to like new metal, like I said, and stuff like that when I was a kid, and then Ascendancy came out and it was like on Kerrang and stuff. Do you know what I mean? So I was like, this is fucking sick. Do you know what I mean? Like that was like my thing, and like I used to literally stand on my bed and like play the whole album through, like in my bedroom, like on the guitar or whatever. Like I knew, well, I still fucking know most of it now. Do you know what I mean? But like, so it was like pretty mental when he sort of like started posting about Malev, which was cool. But it first came about, it was like the bass player, Paolo, he just tagged us in like a thing. It was like keep your distance, like it was on his Spotify or whatever, and he was like, he just tagged us in it, and we were like, oh sick, that's cool. I mean, like someone in Trivium's like listening to it, like that's wicked. And then all of a sudden it was just like Matt Heafy was just like so on it. Do you know what I mean? I was like, this is absolutely sick. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, like this is fucking wicked. So like he was posting loads of stuff about it. So I just messaged him back, like, well, replied to his story, whatever, and just like thanks. Do you know what I mean? It's like he posted it, and then it would just like the follow count on like the Malev Instagram and stuff like that just like shot up, and do you know what I mean? There was just a lot more like activity on the like social media just because he posted it. Do you know what I mean? And like he's not like telling people to go and listen to it, but like people just do, don't they? Feel like he's got quite a big influence on general metal, I guess, these days, especially on the internet. But so I just messaged him back saying like, yo, thanks, like it's sick. Do you know what I mean? Like it honestly like means the world that like you've heard it, sort of thing. Because like, as I said, like to me, it was like Trivium were like so sick. Do you know what I mean? It was like my favorite thing for years. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So, and he was just like, oh, honestly, like I love it. Like he's like, I can't wait to like hear what you've got going on and stuff. And we just got talking about it really. And then he was like, he just asked me, he was like, yo, what are you saying? Like how done is your album? Is there any like space on it for me? And I was like, well, I'll just make space.
You don't have to ask.
Yeah, I was like, I don't have to ask. But that's it. Like we had like a spot on one of the songs where we wanted like someone to do like vocals, just guest vocals or whatever, but we just didn't know, we just couldn't put his finger on like on someone who would sound right for it. And like Matt Heafy did come up like in the conversation, but we were just like, well, that's never gonna happen. Do you know what I mean? and then it turned out that he wanted to do it. And I was just like, yeah, like we've got a bit for you, and like I'll just send you the song and you can shred on it. And he was like, yeah. He was like, just let me know what you want to do. Like I'll sing, I'll scream, I'll play guitar on it. Do you know what I mean? I was like, all right, sweet. Well, just like do all three. Do you know what I mean? Like,
we'll take everything.
Yeah, I was like, just fucking do whatever you want, dude. To be honest, it's like it's gonna be sick, innit? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
it's Matt fucking Heafy. Like,
yeah, exactly. I was like, right, well, it's gonna be fucking sweet. Like, so just extended like there's a solo that I do in the song. So just extended the like rhythm part, just copy and pasted it basically. And then so that he had like space after me. So like we do like back to back like shredding, which is sick. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's stuff as hell, man.
I was like ticked a box there for myself. Do you know what I mean? I was like, but yeah, and then he's like does some vocals and stuff as well, and it sounds wicked. So I'm excited for that one. And then
that fucking wait to hear it.
Yeah. Well, he did actually stream it. So like he hit us up and he was like, "Yo, I'm gonna make like make the parts for the song or whatever today." He was like, "Do you mind if I stream it on Twitch?" Obviously, it's not out, so. But we're just like, yeah, of course, like do it. Do you know what I mean? Because like it's only going to be good, realistically, in it, like really good like, promotion, like. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like, oh, you know, you mind if I stream it to like millions of people at once, exactly. Like, and build hype for your album? It's like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, please, yeah. So we all like logged in on the like on Twitch or whatever and just like watched him do it, and so like spoke through it with him. Do you know what I mean? Like while he was doing it, it was like, do you like that? Like how does it sound and stuff? So we're just like replaying on the chat and stuff. And then loads of people just being like, yo, this sounds fucking sick. Like it was like it's fucking Malevolence, do you know what I mean? Like so like, and that worked as well. Like got us fucking, you know, like again the counts and stuff like that, like just got a lot more interesting. And he's kept posting about it, like he's sick, and like I'm fucking very grateful for it all. Do you know what I mean? And it's like he backs it, you know, which is cool. And it's obviously we're doing those shows with him like in 2023, so that'll be sick. Like hopefully the full little bit more where that came from. Do you know what I mean? And just start building the relationship up more and stuff like that, you know. So obviously never met him in real life, we're just like talk to him on WhatsApp.
Can't wait to see it, to be honest. I'm just gonna take a quick toilet break if that's all right. I'll be like 2 seconds.
Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, that's what's mad about like this podcast is that we've spoken to bands from like the Netherlands, we've spoken to people from Canada, and it's like you end up getting to know them really well, and like you've never met them in person. Like
that's it, isn't it? It's cool though. Like I think that it's good that the world works that way now, because like I never would have ever got the chance to like meet him. I wouldn't have thought if it wasn't for that. Do you know what I mean? That sort of interaction. So I guess I don't know. It's just like it's still pretty overwhelming, to be honest. Like I'm excited to like meet in person and just be like, you know, I'll just be like, yo, thanks for like helping out, because it's, you know, it's definitely put a lot of like hype into the release of the album and stuff, and just generally spread it around to like other people who you'd want to know about it. Do you know what I mean? Who maybe hadn't have heard of us before, especially in like America and stuff like that, where obviously he's like a very like a prolific like metal artist. So whereas like I don't think Malev's like really that big in America. Do you know what I mean? So it's definitely raised the bar a little bit over there just because of who he's talking about. Do you know what I mean? He's like he's like hosting, well, he's going on like radio stations and stuff, and it's like Matt Heafy's top 10 songs of the year or something, and it's like he's put our songs on it and stuff like that, and it's like for people who are listening to that in America, you know what I mean, however many like millions of people it could be, it's like they've heard one of our songs now, so they might be, you know, maybe 5% of them check it out, but it's still like a big help at the end of the day, you know, which is cool. It's like it would just be pretty exciting for us as a band. You know, we were like, fucking hell, like this is actually happening. Like Matt Heafy's like on our album. Like, what do you mean?
It's sick how like integrated he is in like the scene, you know what I mean? He's always like pushing bands and like you know, just giving his support, which is sick because you know, a certain bands of like his size will just be like, yeah, we're the best. We don't care about anybody else. Like, you know, you get bands that will just be like, yeah, I don't want to take bands on tour. I just want to like tour with us and that's it. And it's like, but he's got like this really sick mindset. He's just always like, you know, giving shout outs and, you know, just going on albums and just like, because he just seems like a proper music fan. Like he never lost that sort of fandom of himself, which is sick.
No, that's it. I think he's definitely backed it. Like, he's always shouting bands out, like you said. Do you know what I mean? He's always like streaming and just trying to find like new artists and, do you know what I mean, doing collaborations with people and things like that. So it's wicked. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know how he manages to have time to do all the shit he does, to be honest. It's fucked.
That's the thing. I look at his Instagram sometimes. I'm like, where do you fit it in? Like, because he does like martial arts. He's a dad. He's in a really successful band. It's live streams on Twitch, shouts out band regularly. It's like, how do you fit it in, man? What's your schedule?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Mate, I reckon he's got like a stunt double or something. Do you know what I mean? It's like I'm going to be like real Matt today. Like you just do like, do you know what I mean? I'll do the phone interviews or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, or like
I'm writing riffs and you're changing nappies.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
It's mad. It's mad to think, like, as well, like, kind of going back to the point where even if 5%, like with the American audience, even if 5% of like them listen to it, it's like when you think about it though, America's that massive that even 5% of them listening to it is pretty much almost the population of most countries. Like, do you know what I mean?
That's it, isn't it? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the maddest thing, really. It's just like to reach out, well, to just have that sort of like reach from someone just being sound about it and actually like being into it it's like priceless, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? So it's just like mad grateful for him just for backing it that hard. Do you know what I mean? It's just like that you don't get that chance unless you pay for it usually. Do you know what I mean? And when you do pay for it, it's like people can see straight through it. You know, it's like it's not
as authentic as you feel. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
people are just like, oh yeah, check this band out. Do you know what I mean? And it's like there's no like, honestly, I fucking love this band, like they're my new favorite band or whatever. Do you know what I mean? However he's bigging it up, it's like it's genuine and it's cool to see. And it's like, you know, when it was like an icon of mine, do you know what I mean? Like back in the day, or like my favorite band, it's just kind of weird. Do you know what I mean? But it's cool. Like it couldn't be any sicker, really. Yeah,
like, super humbling man. So obviously I love Malevolence, but I want to talk more about you. So I know you're a Sheffield boy. We're from Leeds, but I did study in Sheffield for like 3 years, and I fucking love the city. So what's like your favorite? What do you think makes like Sheffield a great city? Like, what's your favorite aspects of it?
To be honest, it's like as a city. Well, obviously you've been, but like it's quite small, I guess. Like as a city, everyone refers to it as like England's biggest village. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, I think like the best thing about it, to be honest, is just like its connection with like the outdoors. So like Sheffield's like really big on like stuff like mountain biking and like climbing, things like that. You know, and the Peak District is like the national park that's between Manchester and Sheffield. So, you know, like where I live, it takes me 20 minutes to walk to town, to like the center of town. But if I walk 20 minutes in the opposite direction, you're just like in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Which is sick. Like, so you can get out and like, there's quite a lot of release in terms of like being around natural things. You know what I mean? So I think that's generally my favorite bit about Sheffield, really, because like just having a bit of open space, and it's like very hilly, so there's great views. Do you know what I mean? Like I live at the top of one of the 7 hills, and it's a fucking massive hill. Do you know what I mean? Like it's huge, but you can see Humber Bridge from my bedroom window. Do you know what I mean? On a great clear day. Obviously, that's in like it's miles away. Do you know what I mean? So you can see like the whole of Sheffield then further from my house. So things like that, it's like that sort of side of it means the most to me, I think. And like generally the people are quite chill and, you know, generally quite like nice, like and pleasant. And I think most of it is because like you can get out and be like completely by yourself if you want, like in some trees, you know what I mean, or in a field, or like looking out at a view over on some rocks, do you know what I mean, or something like that, which sounds like, you know, might sound like super like hippie or, you know, whatever.
That's
but like
true, though.
It means the most, especially like through the lockdowns and stuff, just being able to like walk into, you know, where there's no one else and just chill and have some time to yourself, or like obviously me and my girlfriend will walk out, do you know what I mean? And you know, you don't have to go for a massive walk. You could just do like an hour round and it's like you've been completely alone, and then you can come back into the city if you want, you know what I mean? But having that like nature in the lockdown definitely helped just like soothe the mind a little bit.
Yeah, no, it's important to have the balance, to be honest. Like it's nice to have a nice hike in the Peak District and then come back to do the Rainbow Pint Challenge at Corp afterwards, you know?
Oh yeah, that's it, exactly, dude. Yeah.
Oh, that Rainbow Pint Challenge fucked me up one. I remember first time I went to Sheffield, it was his birthday. I was like, let's go, Corp. I did the Rainbow Pint Challenge. You're like the amount of stairs at Corp. I think I fell down every fucking staircase in that place. Like,
those floors are the worst, man.
Famously slippery. Yeah.
Mate, honestly, I damn near broke my fucking ankle.
I've seen a few casualties in there, to be honest, like in my time. There's I haven't been in ages, to be honest. It's one of those, like, I don't know. I wouldn't dare try and fucking do the Rainbow Challenge these days. I mean, like, there's just not even any point. Like the vodka, I don't know what vodka they use in that, but
mate,
it
was like the worst hangover I've ever had. Like at this point, I was like 20 as well, so you know, like I didn't even realize what hangovers were. But then it hit me in the morning. I was like, "What the fuck is this shit?"
Oh mate, I think it's just the general sugar rush and all that you get off, like, or whatever those colours are. Do you know what I mean? It's just like,
I don't want to know.
Yeah, but I've got a fair way through it. I don't know how many there is there? But there's about 7 or 8 different colours in there. And it's they used to do like quads and all. So I mean, it'd be like 4 shots and each 4.
I don't think I've ever met anyone that's done it.
By the third one, you'd be absolutely shit-faced. Like, it's like one thing that also shocked me about like Sheffield is like when we went to practice there once, like I didn't realize that like one road basically kind of like loops around the entire like city centre. Like we're literally like driving, trying to find a Mackey's, and like my mate for some reason put me in charge of fucking navigation. I've like got a natural like sort of lag. Do you know what I mean? Between like looking at something, realizing I've looked at it and speaking. So by the time I even say, "Oh, we've missed the fucking turn," so like, we end up getting lost, and I was there like, notice like this block of flats. I'm like, sure, we've passed that before. He's just there driving, and like, what the fuck you on about? I'm like, yeah, you know what? We have passed that shit.
Oh, dude, yeah. It can be confusing, to be honest, even if you're not used to it, and you can get like you just find yourself like driving back out of the city. And you're like, what? How have I managed this? Do you know what I mean? Like,
it's like the motorway out to Sheffield to Leeds. There's no lights on it. Do you know what I mean? Like, mate, why is it we were like all proper hyped up, you know, like happy as Larry fucking coming out of Sheffield on that motorway, dead silence. Like you didn't see a car coming until you saw the lights just go boof. You know, fucking hell.
Bit sketchy.
Mate, it is sketchy as fuck. Honestly, I was terrified that entire car ride. We are sort of coming to like the end point of the interview. One thing that we normally sort of end this on is what advice would you give to like a musician starting out, as well as like what advice would you give to your younger self? We're kind of like a double-barreled question.
Yeah. What advice would I give myself? I don't know, to be honest. I guess to like maybe a younger musician, just do what you want to do. Like play the music that you want to play. Don't be disheartened if people like say they don't like it. Like it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? It's like if you keep going and doing what you want to do, like people respect that, and I think people resonate with the fact that it's authentic. Do you know what I mean? You're not trying to copy something else, and it's so, you know, if you think it's cool, then stick with your gut feeling, I think is like what I would say, you know, and just try your best to make it as good as you possibly can, you know, just think about the bits that, you know, the things that you're writing, or, you know, work towards goals, like set yourself a goal and try and work towards it. I guess maybe that would be something that I would probably say to my younger self as well. Do you know what I mean? Just like set more goals and achieve them. Do you know what I mean? Because it doesn't matter how big or small they are, you still feel good when you've achieved it. You know, like my two goals, like when I was a kid, was like play, download, have a CD in HMV that you could just like pick up. So like by the time I was 18, I'd done both of those. Do you know what I mean? So I was sick. Do you know what I mean? I was like wicked, like ticked both of those. And then after that, it was just like more constant. So I didn't really set like as many goals. Do you know what I mean? And now it's sort of like what is like, I've done a lot of stuff, but now my next goal is to like, you know, get my own stuff going up, you know, like a bit more, push me as a guitarist a little bit more, you know, just to develop my sort of brand, I guess, whatever that's going to be. But that's like my next goal that I've set. So I think it's good to have something to work towards, basically, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, too right, man. But yeah, thank you so much, Josh. Like, it's been a fucking amazing pleasure having you on. Massive fans of Malevolence, to be honest. You know, it was a bit nerve-wracking coming on, but I think we really enjoyed it. I do want to kind of end because I just thought of a funny story from we actually saw you at Bloodstock and also in Leeds as well. But when we were watching the guys at Bloodstock, there was a pit obviously opening up, and there was some guy in corpse paint with a foam sword that was whacking all the people hardcore dancing. Oh, yeah. And someone just decked him, and he just fell to the ground like a sack of potatoes.
No, it was my mate Lewis. It wasn't his proudest moment. He'd had a couple pints down him. He wasn't the one in corpse paint. He was the one that like knocked the guy out, and like he's got a bit of a short temper as Lewis, especially like if he's like a bit off his tits. And he was like, "Fuck it," because he hit one of our mates, and my mate was just trying to be like, "No, we're not, not trying to start anything," and my mate just went, fuck it," and like did that. So he wasn't his proudest moment. I'm not gonna lie.
It's all good. There were a few funny heads in that pit, to be honest. So we had like Mario and Luigi. I'm sure there was like a princess in there, and you know what I mean, it was like good few like dressed up people. This is always fun, you know what I mean? So
definitely. Yeah, honestly, man, it's been an absolute pleasure getting you on. I've also been a massive fan for years. So to get like this was like talking about goals. We've always had a goal on the podcast to at least get one member of Malevolence on. So you've made us manage to achieve one of ours. So thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for asking me. I've thoroughly enjoyed myself. So
same here, man.
It's cool to meet you properly. Do you know what I mean? And I'm glad you like what we're trying to do. Do you know what I mean? And it's I'm sure I will see you again soon.
You will do.
Yeah, if you're doing
best of luck
a
in
show in Leeds,
2022.
Manchester, Sheffield, I'll probably be there.
Yeah, sweet. Yeah, fair play, mate. Fair play. Hit me up. I'll sort you out. Don't worry.
No worries. Thank you.
Oh
Man.
yeah, and I'll see you on that 2023 Trivium Tour as well. Hella down for
yeah.
that.
Hell yeah. Yeah. Sick. Nice one, boys.
Nice one.
Take
Cheers,
care,
man.
man.